What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life?
Oh God, I learned from the married couples in my life that the key to a good marriage is handling the small problems, right? The longer you've been married, the big problems get handled, but you'll get angrier about the small problems. For example, the term "I'll do it later" doesn't exist when you get married, right? When they're like, "Hey, can you take out the trash? Can you do the dishes?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'll do it later." No. Don't say you'll do it later, because then your significant other's just going to do it. And then you're going to hear about it 5 business days from now when you completely forgot about it, right? You'll be like, "Hey, babe, want to get some takeout for dinner?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, just like you should have took out the damn trash when I asked you," right? Now, boom, now your Friday's ruined, right? And you can't watch Loki. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, for me, right, my buddy has been married for years, right? His wife was like, "Hey, can you pick up red Gatorade for the house?" He forgot and got blue Gatorade instead. She walked in the room. She's like, "Hey, is there someone else?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "You got the opposite color of what I asked for. Why do you hate us?" He's like, "Oh goodness," you know what I mean?
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life? I'll go first. So in my fraternity, I'm always hanging out with my prophytes, and they're about 5 to 10 years older than me. They have a wife and they have kids. And whenever we're about to go kick it, there's always this one phrase that every last one of them says. It doesn't matter when, where, or how. Without fail, every time they say, "Let me ask my wife." And keep in mind, these are not some pushover dudes. They are very masculine and very confident in themselves. But what they taught me is the simple fact that you don't mess up what's happy at home for nobody in this world. No amount of fun is worth coming home and being in the doghouse and having an unhappy wife. If you want to keep learning lessons on how to be a successful young adult and create a great life, make sure you follow and grab my book from the link in my bio. I promise you it's worth it. Change your mind, change your life. What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life? I'll go first.
2 things actually. Number 1 being that they're the most ungrateful people to ever exist, with the biggest victim complex. And I say that because they let their wife handle everything, and then when their wife asks them to do one little thing for them, they get upset, they throw a tantrum, and then they go and have the audacity to talk shit to their friends about their wife being too naggy or too angry all the time. Like, why do you think she's always so angry at you, huh? Number 2 being that no matter how good of a wife you are, they're never going to see that. They're always going to find ways to shit on you, because you could be working 9 to 5, you come home to cook and clean for the kids, and then you go grocery shopping, and then you pay for the bills. But because you forgot to do the laundry, it's, "Oh, why didn't you do anything today? Like, why didn't you do the fucking laundry? Like, why are you so lazy?" Like, sir, our fridge is full because I went grocery shopping. We still have internet because I paid for the bills today. We still have enough to pay for the rent because I went to work today. The fuck?
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life?
To be careful with who you choose as your life partner. There's absolutely no divorce in my family, and not because we can't or that we're restricted, but because they followed this motto. My parents will have been married for 30 years in December. My grandparents have been married for 70 years. My great-grandparents were married for 50 years. And every single married man in my family has sworn by this statement to making their marriage last. My father in particular has drilled this into my brain since birth, that who you walk down that aisle to will not just be your wife or your husband. They will be the partner that you make every single decision with for the rest of your life. The person who you'll pay bills with, raise children with, that you'll grow old with, and eventually will be the person to hold your hand when you die. Marriage is more than just your wedding day. It is a lifelong partnership. And if you want to make it last, you make sure that when you're walking down that aisle, you're walking towards the person who will, without hesitation, work with you, compromise with you, support you, and ultimately grow with you. Because if they can't or they won't, that is not your life partner.
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life? I'll go first.
A woman will come into your life and add one of 2 things, either value or chaos, and there is no middle ground. And OG told me that many men unknowingly stay in toxic situations because they are only conditioned to view chaos as overt, such as loud, argumentative, combative, and insufferable. But many men don't understand that chaos can be very subtle. And the subtleties of chaos include unchecked emotional instability or baggage, relationship sabotage or self-sabotage, and the big one, manipulation. When you use the chaos versus value metric, it's easy for you to discern where her efforts truly lie in your life. Are her efforts aligned with creating the best version of herself for your relationship, or are her efforts aligned with creating disturbances to your peace? And when you discern that she's in your life for ulterior motives, it's easy for you to hand her that pink slip, resign her position in your life, and tell her there's the door.
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life?
A married man who is not trying to smash will never have a friendship with me outside of his wife. As a matter of fact, my relationship with his wife is the dominant friendship in that marriage. If she and I, for any reason, do not get along, a married man who is not up to some bullshit will never continue a friendship on the side of his wife. However, a married man who is like, I can have my own friends, my wife don't mind, and I've never met his wife, he is trying to smash. And not only is he trying to smash, he's trying to make sure that I hang on for an extended amount of time because he has villainized his wife. Especially if I hear the line, I wish I would have met you before I met my wife. This shows me this man makes poor decisions and he wants me to be another one.
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life?
So once upon a time, I used to be a phone sex actress, and I was quite good at it. Doing this and this alone paid all of my bills. And surprise, surprise, when you do phone sex work, most of the men who call you will be married. It didn't take long at all to realize that the type of man that will cheat on his wife, whether it be with sex workers or with other women, all have tells. Here we go. Men who act as if their wife is a greedy, nagging monster and their marriage is an inescapable prison that they were forced into. Men who compliment other women by putting down their wife. Men who only speak positively of their wife when speaking about all the sacrifices that she makes on behalf of him and his children, or all the ways that she is helpful to him. Any man who's not happy and proud to be married and unafraid to say it in any and all spaces and to any and all people, who's not constantly singing the praises of his wife, her character, and her attributes, is cheating or wants to cheat.
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life?
This is what I've seen from men who are married that are 40 and up. They don't really seem to like their wives. It's like they had a checklist, like a vague checklist of what they wanted in a wife, which has nothing to do with who she is as a person. Checklist looks like, am I attracted to her? Yeah, check. Does she know all the basic skills of how to exist as a human being that I somehow refuse to learn because I am a man? Yeah, she knows that, check. Do we believe in the same politics or religion? Yeah. Will she have my babies? Yeah. Will she have sex with me? Sometimes. Does she think all my ideas are good ideas? She'll pretend to, yes. Good enough. But men aren't the only one at fault for this. Women marry men oftentimes for what they have. Ever been in a conversation with some bitch and she's like, oh, my husband? Yes, he's a doctor. That's the most special thing about him. Like, people forget you're looking for a soul connection, not a live-in maid or a paycheck.
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life? I'll go first.
That marriage ain't nothing but a swap out for a long-term care insurance. The married men that I know weren't even ready for marriage until they started seeing their mortality. Deteriorating vision, receding hairline, slowing metabolism. And when they were confronted with their mortality, then they became ready for marriage. And then they married people very specifically that they absolutely believe will be there in a service capacity for them as they age. Not love. They marry the stable ones and cheat on the stable ones because the stable ones weren't the ones they wanted in the first place.
Without fail, every time they say, let me ask my wife.
Yep, and this is actually supported by research. When men accept influence from their wives, they have happier relationships and lower rates of divorce. In fact, if a man is unwilling to share power, there's an 81% chance that his marriage will self-destruct. And to be clear, this is not, yes dear, whatever you say. It's, hey, you have a valid perspective, and I'm willing to have my perspective changed by it. So ask your partner this question.
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life?
I think that I could talk about this because I've been around a lot of good men. But not only that, I'm also wearing a mock neck, making me seem more intelligent. But one thing that married men have always taught me is to be with a woman that wants you, but doesn't necessarily need you. And before y'all start, I don't mean need you in a sense of like financial or stability or anything like that. I mean need you as in your relationship is the center of her universe. It's really the only thing that she has going on, and it's what determines her happiness, her mood, her behavior. So we should be aiming for a woman whose identity, self-esteem, and happiness are already established, and that she loves herself. And not that she needs to, but she decides that she loves you so much that she wants to make you a part of her life.
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life? I'll go.
That the notion of happy wife, happy life is complete bullshit. If you got to go out of your way to try to make somebody happy who can't inherently make themselves happy, you will never have a good life, my dog. And as much as society tries to downplay the importance of a male figure in a lot of situations, a happy man in a marriage is a happy marriage. I can see these motherfuckers in the comment section now.
Oh my god, you're so misogynistic. Oh, you do not like the women. Oh.
Shut the fuck up. Because if I'm supposed to be the provider, if I'm supposed to be the protector, you know, that thing that women want traditionally, but they don't want to be traditional women. If I'm supposed to be all that and I'm happy, then my entire family is happy. Because how can happiness not fall down from me if I'm the head of the household? And most women will agree. They may not openly agree, but they'll agree that the more you sacrifice and do for them, the more unattractive you become to them.
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life?
I am getting married to my best friend next May. We've been together the entirety of my adult life and we have a baby girl. He's frequently been asked why he doesn't pick up extra shifts at his job, and when his reply is, "Oh, well, I miss my girlfriend and our baby. I want to go home and spend time with them," the married men in his life don't believe him. It's actually appalling to listen to older men talk about their wives. It's why I'm such a huge supporter of people saying, "Oh, I'm not interested in getting married," or deciding to push it back a few years. I mean, like, my generation and the generations that are coming after me are probably going to get married much later than couples before us. Which is such a good thing, because I personally feel like a lot of people just got married for religious reasons or because they wanted to have kids. Not because they were really in love with this person and they had a ton in common. I mean, I spend all of my free time with my fiance and we have not gotten sick of each other in my entire adult life because we're genuinely friends. I don't feel like a lot of these men are friends with their wives.
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life?
Okay, so I'm gonna make this very semi-short and sweet. I used to be a dancer, and a lot of the dudes were really open about them being married, even for like 20 plus years and having kids, etc. They're probably the nastiest people that come into clubs. I don't know what it is about them. They just, they want to come in there, they want to disrespect their wives. They think it's like basically like a free-for-all, like their marriage means nothing outside of the club. And they're always like putting down their wives to compliment you, like, "Oh, you're so much skinnier than my wife. You're so much prettier than my wife. My wife doesn't look like this anymore after kids, blah, 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 blah." These women sacrifice their mental health, their physical bodies, and probably any other compromise she made for your dumb ass. So I don't really trust married men.
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life? I'll go first.
I learned that one of the reasons that men are very rarely happy in marriages is because they marry what they think is the universal standard of a wifey woman and not what their ideal wife would be. There's this unspoken ideology that the woman that you marry has to be some kind of shut-in. She has to be someone who doesn't go out, doesn't party, doesn't wear revealing clothes, God-fearing woman. These are the qualities that they want in a wife, but that's not necessarily the qualities that they actually want in a woman. So while they're a wife, a woman who fits the wife mold, the reason that I see a lot of them cheat is because they still need to go out and be with the women that they want to be with. If men would just marry the women that they like, they wouldn't have to cheat and they wouldn't get divorced so often. Stop giving that church girl ulcers and go date a woman who likes to go out and hit the club with you.
What's one thing you learned from all the married men in your life?
From a young age, as women, we are conditioned to believe that other women are going to be catty and petty and gossip about us and stab us in the back. But what society doesn't teach us is that men are actually far worse when it comes to this, especially about their partners. I've learned from married men and men in very serious committed relationships is that if there's an opportunity to cheat, rather than use his glowing, shining, charismatic personality to become more attractive, he will just develop a sob story. And in that story, you, as his partner, will be the boogeyman under his bed, the scum of the earth, the shit under his shoe with poor character and poor morals. Whether it's true or not, he will leverage this story, he will leverage his perceived mistreatment to manipulate a new woman into sleeping with him.